I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for accommodating this meeting. I know it was not scheduled, and I appreciate you making the time at 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. We have one item on the agenda. It is a memorandum of agreement between Whittier Tech and Northern Essex Community College Shared Campus Working Group. There is going to be a vote required on this, and I would before we begin any discussion, I'll entertain a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding and sign it. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept the memorandum of agreement and sign it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion, no discussion?
Well,
Yeah, we're gonna discuss before we vote, aren't we?
I'm going too fast. So sorry. Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
So we have a motion and a second. Now we'll have discussion. Okay, so Chris Sicaranza is here this evening. He's from Northern Essex Community College. In your packet, you should see a letter from Lane Glenn, who was the president of Northern Essex Community College, along with a copy of the memorandum of understanding. This, so the public is aware of what it is this is about. This is in reference to Whittier Tech and Northern Essex Community College exploring a shared campus to solve the Whittier capital issue that we have. Bless you. And so this is an innovative solution that combines the two of them, higher education and high school public education. So before I entertain any questions from the board, could I ask Chris to come on up here and give us a little spiel?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tracy, and the select board members. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. And just to kind of echo what you already heard, we are exploring a potential shared campus model between Whittier Tech and Northern Essex Community College. We believe this presents a lot of solutions, potentially speaking. We're currently studying the matter, but we believe it solves a few problems, especially including affordability, which is a big piece that we understand from our 11 communities that are part of this agreement that's now 50 years old. The long and short of it is we really wanted to get this MOU to showcase to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSBA, that we still want to be in their pipeline, because if we get kicked out of that pipeline, it could be years down the road. And we want to explore different ways to find new capital needs across different backgrounds. So access to higher education, foundational money, state money. To be clear, this model has not really been done across the country. Everything that we're studying right now, part of why we've invited UMass Donahue Institute to help study this is no one's quite looked at it from this lens before. So working between DCAM, which is the agency that represents the Division of Capital Management for the state, working locally across Haverhill and of course the entire 11 communities, we understand that we can provide a potential creative, innovative solution from, again, a capacity perspective, from an affordability perspective. We have just under 100 acres on the campus of Northern Essex Community College that we can work with. So as you saw, I don't want to repeat a lot of the points here, but the biggest thing that you should probably know is that we do have strong support from the governor and lieutenant governor who have been heavily involved in trying to encourage us to have these kinds of communications across the different municipalities. So, but it's important that we come out here and talk to you all to make sure we can solicit your feedback. And I'll just pause right there before I go into the whole spiel, because you have the whole packet in front of you about what we're trying to do. And the thing I will share with you is we have 2 other Board of Selectmen meetings tonight. We did get some successful signatures. We got it from the 3 mayors, Mayor Gove of Amesbury, and we expect to collect it from Mayor Sean Reardon of Newburyport and Mayor Barrett of Haverhill. This has been challenging times to get us all on the same page. It's a tough vote at the beginning of the year, so we wanted to make sure that, especially from the different municipalities that have the top elected official being their mayor, that we could get their support, and we do have that. So we feel confident that almost every community is there. We're working on it, but we're very happy to take any questions and to make sure as we go along this entire process to stay in direct communications with you all as well too.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
You said, the Haverhill Mayor Barrett is going to, or has signed
Yes,
off
sir.
on it and is on board with this?
Yes, sir, yes, yeah, before we started, we, for the public to know, and then for this board, I think that's aware, it was a tough vote that happened earlier in the year, but the two mayors, in question, really had taken strong positions on that. It was important to us to start the conversations there about understanding that this is a non-binding agreement, that this is just a showcase to the MSBA, which could represent a significant chunk of the bottom line bill to keep us in mind. That we'll do better of cooperating and showing up to meetings and working together. And they seem to understand that, so we are confident we'll be collecting the signatures this week.
Beautiful.
I have a couple more questions, but I'm willing to take turns if anybody.
Well, Jeff? Thank you, Dana.
Did I miss how the MSBA study was going to be paid for?
The MSBA study itself is part of the Whittier Tech previous submission.
So that's gonna go along with the previous agreement?
Not necessarily, no. It is technically it's a revised agreement because it's a new shared campus model between Whittier Tech. So they visited us about 2 months ago. Typically speaking, I had the pleasure of working for the city of Salem, the city of Haverhill, city of Gloucester as the chief of staff. As you probably know, the MSBA takes many years to be very thorough for their modules. To that end, what was submitted previously was revised. We only expected 2 or 3 people from the MSBA to visit our campus. They showed up with about 13, 14 state officials to review personally every classroom to see how we could, for the short term, have shared classrooms, how we could have things like shared facilities, shared security, a lot of cost savings. They wanted to see that firsthand. So they understand that it's a revised submission, but it's technically already been paid for by the Whittier Tech earlier vote. So what we're paying for at Northern Essex Community College is this study by the UMass Donahue Institute. They're helping us basically say, what are the demographics? Where are the jobs going to be? Where is the population changes going to be? So that we can put this together as a package to get that money for the local, state, maybe even potentially federal support at every level. And by combining forces like this, we have the most amount of cost savings that we can get.
So if I understand you correctly, the original submission that Whittier gave to the MSBA when they started the original process, that has been updated or
It will be revised once we,
revised?
yeah.
Okay.
And part of that revision is the inclusion of this MOU. They very much wanted to see that the 11 communities are actively working together.
And if there's any cost associated to that, that's gonna be borne by Whittier, correct?
As of right now, it is technically on paper, but we know that ultimately speaking, a regional agreement, the one that is in place right now, would likely become irrelevant if there was a new shared campus system.
Oh, that's in the future, but for
Yeah.
this specific revision, if there's any cost associated to any work that's being done,
Yeah.
that's gonna be borne by Whittier, like if there's any updating to any, schematic design or
Yeah,
anything
between,
like that.
there's, and also Northern Essex is happy to work. We've already put aside a significant amount of money for the UMass Donahue Institute, for capital costs to help cover to study this. So between us, yeah, we would cover that.
Okay,
Correct.
so to
Good,
be
and that was-
abundantly clear,
That was the question, the
Yeah.
study from UMass is gonna be covered by Whittier also.
so
Yes.
there will be no,
UMass Donahue is covered completely by Northern Essex to be clear.
yeah, so there'll be no request of the town of
No,
Newbury for
absolutely
any
not.
funding at all?
Absolutely
Okay,
not.
Thank
Nope,
you,
not in any way, shape or form. Nope, we're
Thank
helping to
you.
cover that bill.
thank you. Jeff, I'm gonna go on to the next, Leslie, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no, and not that we were negative or that negative intuition could be passed along, it's just the fact that I want no surprises.
Understood, completely understood.
Bill, do you have any questions?
Well, I want to give you some statements of why I like this, but I want you, Chris, to tell me if I understood it correctly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so take it as a statement and a question at the same time.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I believe this expands access to education, and I'm certainly in favor of education. It's an opportunity for students. At Northern Essex, you guys have an open enrollment shared campus. You don't reject anyone.
That's
Everyone's
correct.
accepted, okay? And this, I believe, you stated this would possibly increase enrollment by about 300 students.
At least, we
Okay.
project at least.
I mean, just so we'll understand, since 2019, Newbury had 49 applicants to Whittier. Okay? 12 were waitlisted and 36 were accepted. So this in itself could be an opportunity for more Newbury students to go into Whittier if that's what they choose to do. I think it's good for Newbury taxpayer, especially me. It has the potential for new and different funding streams,
That's
rather than the old 1967 agreement. That agreement would not pertain to this endeavor if it moves forward. It addresses the need for new Whittier infrastructure. I think no one denies that Whittier needs infrastructure. But it also, to me, it possibly avoids a Triton versus Whittier competition for funding in the town of Newbury, which was a significant issue at the time we voted for Whittier. Having the support of Governor Healy is huge, because to me, it creates a new model for career and technical education for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So it's a feather in their cap to support this, because it's unique, but it's also similar to many other, and there are other models in the country that exist that your outside company is exploring,
That's correct.
which is good. I think it also it's an opportunity to reducing operating expenses, because when you combine the two functions, so to speak, there's a lot of synergy due to redundancy of staff. Okay, so that could impact what it costs the town of Newbury to support it on an annual basis. And I mean, and frankly, this is non-binding.
That's right.
So, I mean, to me, it's clear that this is very worthwhile endorsing and sending on. Mr. Mark?
I'm gonna enlist your support on my roadshow here, because you got everything correct and then some. And I just wanna stress again, from every level of government, we're technically a state agency. This is a quasi-regional entity, but really a local-based entity, being Whittier Tech. There is support and interest from every level. We've been working with Senator Tarr, the different reps, Kastner, Don Shand, obviously Lieutenant Governor, the governor's office. Lieutenant Governor, especially being a former mayor herself, is very much likes to get into the policy side of this, but she also has some experience with other Essex Tech, the background in the bylaws. So we understand it's gonna be a challenge and it will take a long time, and the MSBA unto itself takes a long time to review the process, as you know. And so this just gives us a chance to have even more capital potentially into the mix and doing something frankly exciting and innovative that no one else has really done to this level. And I just will share that this is the same administration that gave us both Mass Educate and Mass Reconnect, which is allowing people for no cost to go back to community college, again, for free, to upskill and reskill in the trades across and other occupational areas that we think are in critical need. And this could potentially allow us to really invest in education in ways that we haven't from the whole journey. And it's a very exciting thing to be a part of. And it does affect the price tag, as to your point of facilities, security, shared staff, resources, et cetera. It's a win across any which way you wanna look at it, and it's non-binding.
Thank you. Dana, did you have additional?
I do. The MSBA, if they, you said we have amendments with the MSBA in place right now from the original request.
Whittier does.
Whittier does.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I assume that until that gets cleared with the MSBA, that they are back in line for possible grant money, that we as towns will not get a capital improvement request until that unfolds? Is that?
So I can't really speak for the submission for the Whittier Tech submission under what they originally proposed. A revised Whittier Tech NECC shared campus model is what we're trying to do, is just to basically include ourselves into the legalese of the paperwork. So if this didn't happen, then you would probably be back to the original game plan of whatever
Right,
capital
so
needs.
I just wanna, you mentioned Triton too, and, you know, Whittier's, you know, they were talking like a $800 million upgrade.
Sure.
Do they have short-term plans for making their campus, usable and reliable over the next several
So-
years? Cause that's
so-
what this is gonna take.
Well, that's
what he
not
said at the beginning.
relative to this, that's a
I
question
know,
for
but I'm
Whittier.
just, I don't even know if you know the answer, if you wanna answer, but.
No, yeah, and to be candid, I don't technically represent,
Yeah,
Right,
if
okay,
the
okay, but yeah,
superintendent was here,
that's fine,
it would be,
yeah,
but this is he's from
Okay.
NACO.
the working group.
yes, sir.
How are we gonna form the working group, and who's gonna be on the working group?
So
And
we-
how are the towns gonna be represented in the working group?
Thank you for asking that. So we actually have had different types of stakeholder groups. In fact, we had a working group today. And so that included people like Mayor Gove, Senator Tarr, but we've also had people from the Harvard Workforce Project that talk about economics. We had our UMass Donahue Institute friends. And so people have written books about economics, people who are TED speakers about educational. That's one group. There's another group that we're doing one-to-one interviews, and so if anybody of this group would like to be interviewed by UMass Donahue Institute, we had Neil Harrington as one of the town managers being interviewed. I believe one of the city councilors in Haverhill. Basically, the UMass Donahue Institute unto themselves wanted to have different stakeholders representing business, education, economics, workforce labor, labor groups themselves. So they have a whole process that they decided to do with different groups. We welcome anyone's feedback, and so the other thing that we had, and we've already had two of them, I believe actually the last time I was here, we had one simultaneous to our meeting. A public session where anyone can drop in on a Zoom meeting to offer their feedback. We think it's important that big and small, everyone has a voice, and we don't ever wanna hear that people didn't know about this, we don't wanna hear about any surprises. We believe in strong communications. I've had the pleasure of meeting with some of your colleagues here, but we're also sending out emails, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, whatever we can to enlighten people about the process that this is going to take, which is going to take a long time. And frankly, to be clear on behalf of President Glenn, who said it here himself, we don't need to be doing this, but we do believe that every child has an opportunity to do the most good for their community with this proposition. And so we're trying to offer a path that has never been done before by asking for your support today for a non-binding resolution for something that will allow us to get to a better place. It doesn't, unless you do anything. But to that end, whoever wants to be part of a group is welcome.
Chris, if I can just add, you also have an excellent website that you're responsible for, Whittier Tech, Exploring a Shared Campus. We talked about this before here. I think Alicia gave us the web address. It talks about the schedule for the public listening sessions. It lists, Dana, the 20 names of the people who are on the planning group right now. Senator Tarr is on there as well. It's pretty comprehensive, and its content is great, and it has key dates coming up in the future when things have to happen, so it's very informative and it's available on the internet.
And again, we welcome anyone's feedback about best ways to enlighten folks about how to get involved. We know everyone has a busy schedule, we know it's an election time of year, and so getting people to pay attention to something that has potentially great consequence, we understand that we wanna make sure that we're welcoming all the voices that we can. Because we think we could potentially offer a compelling package that will do something that will save the taxpayers a lot of money and offer a lot more services back. So whatever we can do to help get the word out, we're gonna be happy to help with you, with whichever way we can communicate around that.
Any other questions?
No,
Alicia?
Jeff?
Does the MSBA, because our scope, our familiarity with it is elementary and high school, but am I to understand that it also would participate in building new community colleges and maybe UMass if they were state schools?
So we're technically separate from the UMass system, we are affiliated with them as a quasi-sister school, I guess you could say. But yes, this is why it would be potentially innovative, is that they are understanding that we have a lot, they would have to work with DCAM, the other agency responsible for state property, to help enable this path. So again, the governor sent the CEO of the MSBA to meet with us as part of that last meeting. They understand this vision, they understand that might require some legislative changes in order to make this happen, so it's a lot of work on a lot of different levels, but the understanding is there that we wanna get the best bang for our buck, but the MSBA would be a significant source of that funding. And that meeting, by the way, is in December if otherwise, and
December
that's why this.
14th?
Thank you, yes, exactly right,
I have a question about timeline.
yes.
So December 14th, the
Yeah.
MSBA meets, assuming that, the vote goes the way
Sure.
we all would like, we all hope. What's your next step after that?
So we would have to codify, my understanding is through our internal processes, like through our board of trustees would have to vote to approve a path that was presented by the final report by the UMass Donahue Institute. They would have to offer a recommendation of, yes, you should go for this. They would have to give us that report probably around the time we go to the MSBA. I think it's more likely than not that that would be the case. And then we would have to work with the MSBA to develop a module. So they have on the MSBA website, they have a module timeline process that I got from Kara Cosmos, who worked at
Yeah.
Whittier Tech. So she's actively working on a proposed revised timeline. So I don't wanna speak out of school, no pun intended, about the specifics on that, but it would definitely be years. I mean, we're looking at a timeline of nothing realistic in any way, shape, or form through all the legislative processes and internal processes would even be happening until at least 2 or 3 years from now. So
Okay,
it's a lot of paperwork, meetings, approvals, and finding the ways to make this happen, so.
okay. And when do you expect to seat this working committee and when do you think they would start meeting?
So we wanna get all the signatures first and then we can talk about how we can best align. So my understanding is that different members that I've had the pleasure of seeing some folks at, or they've been talking about the regional agreement have been meeting, so it's just a matter of making sure the right members are invited in. But we are happy to host, so as you heard, I have great connections with different municipalities. There are potentially other retired officials that might wanna be invited in to help moderate, because the biggest thing that we've heard, to be clear, is the capital needs of every community, the very real needs that they have to help support their community get through their everyday needs. And so until we get us all into the same room to talk about the short and long-term capital needs and how we can kind of pivot things for the short and long-term across the different phases, so that might include, for instance, again, it's just as a hypothetical, the selling of the Whittier Tech land unto itself, if they were able to work with us, and how can they do hybrid classes with us? So that's just a scenario, that's not necessarily, me saying that that's going to happen, but I would think that's more likely than not. So that's why the first thing is we have to showcase to the state that we're all playing nice in the sandbox, which is what this piece of paper is in front of you tonight, and then we can work on the specifics about how we can come together, better timelines, and how we can better plan ahead as well too. So I'd love to give you more specifics, I just can't at this time.
That's okay, I understand. Any other questions? I see that the town administrator is asked to sign, and all the town administrators and the mayors, is that how? So the vote would ask that the town administrator sign on behalf.
So in the case of, let's see here, Groveland asked that their acting board chair, Jason Naves, was the person to sign on their behalf. We're happy to adjust this language to the appropriate person. But in that case, it's because I believe there was a conflict of interest, so I think there was a reason
Yeah.
why.
What's the tenor of the board?
I think we should leave Tracy's name there, town administrator.
Yeah, remember, I had a question.
I do too.
For Tracy, I guess, is do you need our approval to sign this?
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to sign on behalf of the town something as important as this without having a vote of the
I just wanna
select
say,
board.
I appreciate being invited here and being able to be part of this, so I think that was a good call, but that's really all I have to say about
I
that.
called the meeting.
I will say though, having participated in the meetings leading up to this, with Selectman DeMayo, it's a groundbreaking, proposal and something that I think we're all very excited about being part of, so I can only see wins with this project, and signaling to MSBA that we're on board is gonna be the first step to getting them to invite us in, so.
And I love the fact that you have open enrollment and there's no admissions process. I think that's huge.
We believe that our next great chapter is by really understanding that everyone is going to need all these different trades and skills going ahead, and so everyone, I think years ago when I was growing up, we poo-pooed the trades, and I don't know why. I think it's the biggest sin of my generation is that we created this environment such that we, for some reason, turned our nose at that stuff. I don't know why. We all need handy people, we all need electricians, we all need plumbers, we all need cabinet makers, we all need these skills, and then if not, they're gonna go to another part of the country or another part of the world. And so if we can have homegrown heroes and enable a affordable path for them to be successful and to work and live here, with the cost the way that they are, it's gonna be an impressive thing if this all comes to fruition,
Yeah.
but we're excited about it.
Okay, so, I guess you don't have the motion there, do you?
It's just to, vote to direct me to execute the memorandum of agreement.
Yeah, so let's, instead of, I think I said sign, so let's amend to, direct the town administrator to sign the memorandum of understanding.
Let Bill do it if he can, it's not, because he's done so much work on it, and I'll second it.
You wanna make that move?
Want me to do it,
I'd
Bill?
like to make a motion that we move this memo of understanding forward by our vote and allow the town administrator to sign, endorse it for us,
Second.
move it forward.
To be our representative.
There you go.
Well, yeah. Just to sign this. I don't know about the representative on the working group, this is just to sign this.
Right.
Still have to seek the
She
working group.
is representing us in signing
Yeah,
that.
representing the town of Newbury.
Right, correct.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time.
Hey, I look forward to working with you all a lot more ahead, and I welcome any feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, because communication is king. And I'm here to help however I can, big or small, and I mean that sincerely. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you all a lot more, and we have a long road ahead, so.
Yeah. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.